if you ask me, how should every professional work? That should be the way. Bring fun into every conversation, but keep it professional no matter what. Keep it professional always.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a project manager in the past. He said to me, if you had smiled or laughed in the day, you've done something wrong. Right? So
wise words.
Yeah, it's true, and it stuck with me. And the truth of the matter is, I like to laugh. I like to smile. I like to make other people happy. Things get intense.
Yeah.
And they get very intense, can get very intense very quickly. And the antidote to that is humor. The intensity doesn't go away. We work very, very hard. We work and it becomes a mantra, hard work all the time. You work hard, but you got to have fun and you got to make people, happy around you. Yeah. Because if you're miserable, what's the point? I mean, your family's going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. It's no fun. That's no fun. So, and I had a nice compliment from some of the local guys that work in the authority in Dubai, and they said to me, Petros, you had the best team. I take great pride in that, and I had the best team because I had people who were smiling, very, very professional, very competent, very committed to the success of their individual task and the overall vision, but also with me, smiling, making jokes, having fun. So those two things are not mutually exclusive.
I can't believe you're here.
It's crazy.
Absolutely crazy that we invited you on the podcast and you're like, I'm flying to Cyprus to do the podcast live. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, Petros Zouzoulas is the innovation lead of Parsons in the Middle East. Absolutely crazy. We've been working with Parsons for the past year and a half now, I think.
Yeah, that's about right.
It's absolutely crazy that you're here. I love it. Is your second time in the island, right?
This is crazy. This is a lot of fun. I didn't expect to be able to fly out here, but I didn't want to do it over a Zoom call.
Yeah,
I just didn't think it was going to be fun, and I thought it was going to be taxing for everybody. And let's be honest, doing it in person is way better.
It's way better.
And we promised some taverna as well here in Cyprus.
Yeah,
so that was definitely a luring
We're
turn.
not supposed to say that live. Is that live?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone, you can come to Cyprus. You should. Whenever we invite you, I mean, Petros is going to tell you, ask Petros after the podcast, what happened. So you get the insights and then you're invited here as well.
Well, it is a big pleasure for me to be here in Cyprus with you guys. Of course, you guys know very much that I've had a lot of good friends in the past and I continue to have lots of friends from Cyprus. And of course, new friends with you guys, and we've been working closely. And so it's really exciting to be here, and your studio is great. And I'm glad I'm the first one actually in the studio, right? This is
Petros is the first one.
This is officially your post-COVID
episode.
That's it, right? So we're not wearing masks. We're having a good time. So I'm excited.
Petros, tell us who you are. Tell us how you ended up as an American. You ended up in the Middle East. It's a crazy story that it's also very much inspiring. I'd love to hear that. I think everyone's going to want to.
Well, first of all, let me say I am from Washington, D.C., and my bad joke normally is, as you can tell from my name, I'm from Washington, D.C., and that leaves people scratching their heads. They're going, "What? What's the connection? I don't get it. You sound like it's the most foreign sounding name. I still don't believe you're American." So yes, I'm nationally American. My parents are from Sparta, which I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of both of those things. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. And I consider that's the fertile ground that kind of gave rise to myself, my family, and so I'm very grateful for that. But the story of how I came to Dubai was complete happenstance, right? So I'm traveling between visiting family, grandparents in Greece, going back to Washington D.C., and I meet a gentleman in Frankfurt at the airport. Yeah, at the airport. I'm trying to position myself so we can get our children on board, our babies at that time, get them on the flight early. We're flying Lufthansa, so there's not a lot of niceties like families and children first. So I'm trying to position myself, and I meet a couple of people, and we start a conversation. It's just a very casual thing. We start a conversation. Who are you? What are you doing? And one thing leads to another, and this guy is a very senior member of Parsons. So at the time, we had this small architecture practice. We had gone from 3 people from university to 13 people, which was very exciting. It's also very hard having a small business, payroll.
You're an architect by background.
Background is architecture. Yeah, absolutely. And so having an architecture practice, you realize that, I've gone to university, I'm going to be a designer, and that's what I want to do. I love the built environment. I want to influence the way people experience it. And then all you're doing is chasing customers, trying to make payroll. And you're like, wait a second, that's not what I anticipated. Right? And so
does it sound familiar?
Sounds very familiar,
just a little bit. Anyone who's started a company, I think is
that's a pain point for everybody. Right? You think you'll be doing one thing and you end up doing something very different. So I was doing basically a lot of the operational stuff, and my good friend and basically partner Greg and Rick, those guys were doing winning business and design, and so we went from that. And so, anyways, back to the original story. So I meet this guy. He hands me a magazine called The Big Project, right? And
very well known now. Very well known.
Famous publication. Middle East.
Yeah. And so on the cover, there's a story about the Dubai Metro. Now, at the time, 2007, I didn't really know. I mean, kind of knew where Dubai was, right? We had seen the Burj Al Arab and glossy architectural magazines, but it could have been another universe, right? It was so far away and so remote. It was unrelatable. So anyways, we get back to DC. I didn't see him on the flight. I call him up because I'm thinking, hey, we're a small business. This guy's in an engineering company. Maybe we can connect and I can sell him some work, right? This would be great. So I call him up and he says, hey, why don't you come down and have a cup of coffee? I said, look, I want to return your magazine. It's very nice of you to, we're both in the industry. And he was in the industry. I was a very small fish, right? Or I should say our firm was. So I meet him for coffee, and he says, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? And so I get into it, like we're doing now, where I'm from, how I was raised.
Yeah.
And he says, well, tell me about your work. And I explain it to him. I go, I'm glad you asked, I have our portfolio. Let me share it with you. And he goes, yeah, I'm not really interested in that. I'm more interested in you. You see, I have a mega project in the Middle East, and you're the right skill level, the right age level, you might be interested. And I'm like, what are you talking about exactly? He says, well, we have this great project, the Dubai Metro project, and it's a fantastic project, and I want you to consider possibly joining us. So I go back to the office. I'm like, this is crazy. I've gone to sell work, and all of a sudden this guy is potentially offering me work. So I talked to my partner, and he's like, look, if you leave, what are we going to do? You manage so much stuff here.
Yeah. How did they take it?
Well, it was kind of mixed feelings. Obviously we were friends, so there was some, I think there was everyone was a bit confused. Like, what does this mean? Like, what is it? But after being together and trying for 8 years in the company, we thought, okay, well, maybe this is something different. Well, maybe we should. And at that time I had a very young family. So a lot of the pro bono work we were doing, which wasn't paying the bills. You can't
be depending on am I going to meet payroll next month? It's
exactly. And so that was the other, my wife was, tapping her fingers on the table saying, are you going to start making some money at some point? Do you plan on this, or what are
we got a lot of that.
Yeah. So anyways, I explore it with a company. I send in my CV, and I talk to the company. I say, Parsons now, right? I'm going to say Parsons.
Yeah.
And I haven't mentioned that. And I say, what about my wife? Is there an opportunity there? So they look at her CV and they say, okay, you've got international experience. You've got a master's in finance. They make her an offer as well. And so all of a sudden there was, harmonic convergence.
Wait, Anna got an offer as well?
Correct. We both had offers, right? So it's like the stars.
Man, they really wanted you to move there.
The stars had aligned, right? And the universe was telling us, okay, now you need to make a decision, right? All at once. And so, that it was crazy because I met this gentleman on, it was July 29th, 2007, and October 3rd, 2007, we had sold our cars. We were boots on the ground in Dubai. Very short time. In fact, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to many of my friends.
That was even crisis time. Did that?
It was just before.
So you had no idea the crisis was starting?
We didn't know it was looming.
Oh,
didn't know it was on the horizon.
Oh, okay.
So we move over to the Middle East.
Yeah.
And, the first day we get out of the plane and it's like nothing we've experienced, right? It's very hot, of course.
Yeah.
It was very humid.
Yeah.
And
it gets pretty humid in DC in the summer.
Oh yeah. But this was October, right? October 3rd. We landed October 1st, started October 3rd, and we're saying to ourselves, what have we just done, right? And this is pre-smartphone days, right? So they take me into work. I go to the office, and I'm on this amazing project site of a scale that I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get my head around what we're
infrastructure
doing.
project. What kind of?
It was the Dubai Metro project.
Dubai Metro. Yeah. Okay.
And so it was a scale that I had never dabbled in before. I mean, this was something, the whole project, and I'll tell you about the project, but first I'll tell you the experience. So, I finished work that day. It's Ramadan, so I don't know what that means. It's a totally different experience for me because, everything about it, the currency was different. The language was different. I mean, they speak English, of course, but but
Dubai in 2007 was like nothing like Dubai is today.
Yeah.
Well, Dubai probably next year is going to be different than Dubai this year.
Yeah.
Dubai.
Continually evolving place. Yes, absolutely. Very forward looking. And even the unit of measurement was different, right? I was used to imperial, and so we're on metric all of a sudden. So we're like, wait a second, currency is different, unit of measurement is different, cultural habits are different. Everything's different. This is all very strange. This is all very strange to me, very foreign. So I leave the office that day, middle of the day, 2:00 we leave because it's Ramadan hours. We leave early.
Yeah.
And I get in a cab, and he says, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, Flora Grande." And he says, "Which one?" And I'm thinking, I don't know which one. This is crazy. Where is this guy going to drive me?
Was this like your first time in the Middle East ever?
I had never been east of Athens.
Oh wow!
So right. So
I love how you positioned that.
That's it. That's
Athens, the most.
That was it. That's the most eastern place I'd ever been. And to be fair, I hadn't been any other places really.
Yeah.
I'd been in DC and in Greece, right? So you go from that to living in the Middle East, which is obviously accesses a lot of places. So anyways, it was a very different place, and we came back at some point. We converged at the hotel with my wife, and we said, you know what, guys? We said to each other, 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
That's it. We can't do this much longer.
Yeah.
And October 3rd, in what, 3 days from now, it'll be 15 years. So 15 years later.
15 years.
15 years later.
Hey, Petro, I want to ask you, not to plug Parsons or anything, but like Parsons, that must have played a role in your decision making. You see this company that approaches you, and you see them working on these massive projects. Did that play a role? Like, if it was any other company, would you have taken the leap of faith to just leave everything behind and go there? And
it's funny because had you asked me that when I was in DC, I would have never thought about it that way. I was always a guy thinking, I want to do things that are impactful at a scale that's manageable.
Yeah.
And I never considered a large firm like Parsons at the time. I hadn't considered it.
Yeah.
But then you realize that whatever small impactful thing I'm doing in an individual practice will never have the reach of a mega project.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever, conscientious work we did in the firm, which was very good work back in DC, if I think about the project we did in Dubai, that affects hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis. Right.
Yeah.
And that's something really special, to have that under your belt. So but I guess at this point, I really should talk about Parsons, my employer. And yes, it was a big attractor.
I'd love to hear about that. And I have to say that, we work with, we have quite a few consulting clients. I have to say that Parsons really stands out in a few ways. We see Parsons as really a really tech forward company, forward thinking company that always pushes innovation through, and it doesn't. It's kind of strange to say, but it doesn't feel that it's like a 15,000 person company. It's just a very personal approach.
That's true.
You want to tell us a little bit about?
I'm glad you have that experience, right? Because that is, we have great leadership.
Yeah,
we've got people who are really from the very top level all the way through the ranks, saying, okay, what are we doing? How are we doing it differently? How can we bring greater value to the customer? What are the technologies that we can learn about, incorporate into our workflow, bring as a value to a customer? And sometimes it's as simple as, I found something that I think can really benefit you, but it's not something that we have, right? We're not personally invested in that technology. We're just saying, look, we value you as a customer, and we really think that you could benefit from this, and so let us pilot it together. So we had this approach that, and I think this is the big difference, in the way the way we behave with the company, right? and with our customers. We really feel vested with the customer.
Yeah.
And I know it may sound cliche, but I mean, I can't say that we were always in it to really make projects a success.
Yeah.
And if you look at Dubai today, much of what has been constructed in terms of infrastructure, the metro, of course, we were in a JV. We were a vital role. We've been there for 40 years, so we've been vital to that story.
And now you're in Saudi. And now Saudi's transforming.
Saudi's transforming. I shouldn't say now.
On a level that no one has ever seen before.
That's so true.
In their lives, right? I mean, it's not just the vision, right? It's the scale of the transformation that's.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of the company, I won't speak to myself for a minute here. I have to first clarify what Parsons is and what we do exactly, right?
Yeah.
It's a company of around 15,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's been that way since I've been there, right? We fluctuate very little up and down in terms of our ranks, but we have most of our workforces in the United States, in North America, and Canada. We have projects in Northern Europe, rail projects, a great project in France, rail project, and lots of infrastructure work in the Middle East. Yeah. Now, I think one of the big differentiators is, that we're bringing technology always into the solution, and that's this kind of forward-thinking approach. And I think it's really important to understand that the company itself has been in the Middle East as a pioneer for about 40, 45 years. Yeah. So we just celebrated 45 years with Royal Commission in Yanbu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 40. So think about that, right? I'm 49 years old, so when I was an infant, we were a partner with Royal Commission, and that relationship has continued for 45 years. And so I was out there a few months ago making a video to celebrate that relationship, which was very exciting to be in Yanbu, to see the good work that's been done there. The infrastructure is very different from other places, and it's been planned very well, and those relationships persist. So it's great for me to be able to travel through the region in my role as innovation lead. It's been great for me to be a part of these fantastic projects in Dubai, and I've got to be honest with you, it's exceeded every expectation I ever had. On that day, I decided that, okay, we're going to take this opportunity. We're going to move to the Middle East. I never thought that it was going to be so transformative to me and my family. And that, I think, is something it's hard to grasp because, I mean, I don't know about you guys. You guys were raised in Cyprus. It's a bit more Washington, D.C.
raised
is international.
in Saudi for me.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But you have access to parts of the world, right? But when you're in North America, right, it's kind of an island in its own right. It's a massive place. It's a massive economy on its own. Many people don't think, especially at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, pre-social media, people.
No, I definitely felt that.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that when I was in the U.S., especially when I was originally at Penn State. I definitely felt how America doesn't need the rest of the world to survive. You look at a country like Cyprus. Yeah. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, my family needed Saudi to survive.
Yes.
Cyprus needs, imports. I don't know, 95% of their services, products into the island. We're an island.
Yeah.
So that opens up your eyes in a different way. So, you definitely didn't have to travel to the Middle East. But it's so great to hear you talk about, Dubai and all the transformation that you went through. Do you think the vision of the rulers of Dubai also had a role in that? Do you feel Dubai as a second home at this point? Like
Absolutely.
15 years?
15 years, you do feel a sense of being part of the place because you've invested your blood, sweat, and tears and making it successful.
You're part of the story, right?
Yeah. And so, and you guys know, I'm an avid photographer. I love documenting the things I see and the things I experience. And so that becomes the tapestry of your life. And you look back at the tapestry of your life and you go, wow, a lot of this has been building things in the Middle East. Yeah. Right. And so things that people use every day, things that are used by people who are coming from other places that need work.
Yeah.
So Dubai has provided a springboard for a lot of people, I think that's really impressive. And the Parsons as a company has been part of that story. It's been part of my journey.
Yeah.
And I very proudly am part of the company, and we continue to grow in the Middle East, which is very exciting.
For those who don't know Petros, I mean, for those who know Petros, they're gonna probably smile right now. For those who don't know Petros, if you've ever seen any sort of a Casey Neistat video, and how he has records and records and records of every single thing, like videos and photographs and like 360 pictures and drone footage of like every single moment in his life, that's Petros. And I have to say, he embodies that in every single presentation, every single conversation, story he shares. Like, he'll pull up his phone, show you a little bit of that. It just makes every story so much more interesting. And he'll pull up these big presentations, and I've been to plenty of them, and I have to say, you're like, oh my gosh, like that's a 50 slide presentation, and then it just goes through because it's a story. You're a storyteller. Is that, I see you as a very artistic person. Would you categorize yourself as one?
I definitely put myself in the category of creative,
Yeah.
which is a strange mix because we have a lot of creative company in the people,
Yeah.
and I never thought I would be in a project management engineering company building infrastructure as a creative person. You don't think, well, how do these things? This is you think of these things as very rigid engineering activities.
Yeah.
But somehow it worked. I was a creative person bringing those skills of communication skills in the graphic sense.
Yeah.
To the conversation, and being able to articulate what's going on site.
Yeah.
What are the issues? How do we resolve these things? And recognizing that, your customer isn't always an engineer.
Yeah.
Right. And so he doesn't,
well, your customer is almost rarely an engineer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Owners usually don't know anything about
So,
construction.
it's like when I look at my daughter's sheet music, right?
Yeah.
I like music.
Yeah.
I can't read a sheet music. It's a different language.
Yeah.
So if I look at it, if you expect somebody to look at a drawing and interpret what that means in reality, there's a big gap in understanding. And so I found that being able to distill that idea, whether it was either like in an infographic style, to take a complex engineering thing and distill it down to 3 basic options. This is what the options are. These are the advantages and disadvantages of each. And this is, what we recommend as a group. That has been invaluable, I think, being able to distill it, this process of distillation, distilling information to the simplest form. But also in terms of, photography, which is, of course, you guys know, you mentioned it, a passion of mine. And it's been this way for a long time. And I can see everyone who knows me rolling their eyes because they know how annoying I can be.
Yeah.
Taking pictures and making videos.
You didn't take enough today. You should have to do more.
I'm imagining, but he did a lot of that today, right? We were just like talking, and he was like, all of a sudden you look around and like Petros like with his phone, like, hey, but it's amazing. It's like, these YouTubers that you're like, you watch a lot of the time, and you're like, when do they record? And I think I saw a live one today. Do you have a YouTube channel that people can follow? Or
I do. I do have a channel. It's for another. Everything's kind of imagery based, right?
Yeah.
Video photography. It's only for video footage, for drone video footage.
Amazing.
Which I fell into. But I'll tell you about the journey because I think it's an interesting one in the world of engineering.
Yeah.
You think of like photography just seems like a banal thing, right? Everyone has a camera at all times.
Yeah.
And
especially now.
Yeah, exactly. So what distinguishes what you're trying to communicate? So I started when I was 14 years old with a broken camera my father had, and I was like, how does this thing work? What's a light meter? What's ISO? What's an f-stop? What do these things mean?
I have no idea what you just said, but okay, go on.
So at the time, right, we're shooting film, right? I'm talking, late 80s, early 90s, we're shooting film, and you're expecting the results 2 or 3 weeks later. And so you get a photograph back, and then you realize that I've just frozen a moment in time. This moment's never going to come back, right? I've captured sometimes something very special, and then that idea has kind of stuck with me through my life. And I think about how many times do we visit something and we rediscover it through the power of imagery, You look at a photograph and you go, I remember that. Look at the expression on this person's face.
Yeah.
Look at that car I was driving. Look at my uncle. Look at, whatever it is. And so I've always had that. That's been really kind of a very interesting moment for me. I think what's also interesting to look at early photographs from the 20th century.
Yeah.
The industrialization in the United States, black and white imagery, heavy machinery.
Yeah.
You're looking at something that happened 100 years ago that no one's ever seen in history before. And you're looking at it with this incredible wonder. Like, look at the way these buildings were designed and built. And so I brought that to our project, and I like to document the voyage of the project.
And just to give a little bit of context, you weren't supposed to. You just took the initiative to do that, right? Nobody directed you. Your boss didn't tell you better. You need to go take pictures, or it was just your initiative.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was a way to look. I mean, if you're a creative person, there's a creative imperative.
Yeah.
Right, you have to create something.
Right, it's actually amazing that Parsons allows that as well. A creative person in a company that stifles innovation, that stifles creativity, might not have the chance or the space to do that.
Precisely. Yeah.
What would you say to the young architect that joins Parsons today, if they have big dreams like you?
I think you're limited by your vision. Yeah. So if you find a way to express your creative skill in a way that brings value to the customer or the client or their organization, they'd be very happy to have you.
Yeah.
So I think people can oftentimes say, "Oh, it's an engineering company. We do master plans. We do lots of creative work," but I think people think about it in a certain way, and they like really should. Yeah.
Practical.
Very. I mean, I'm on a metro project. How much creativity can you have doing tunneling, for example?
Yeah.
But if you look at it in terms of what's the story I'm telling, how am I transforming this environment, right? How are people going to use it? And so that was always the interesting part for me was, I went to architecture school to, build the environment, to be part of that human interaction, that experience of, moving through a space. And we did it at a very small scale in DC, but Parsons, we do it on a very grand scale. And that's really exciting stuff. And so to answer your question directly, what do I think about young people joining the company? I said, there's a couple parts. One, the creativity is limited by yourself, not by the company.
Yeah.
The second part is
it's a company where you have opportunities.
There are opportunities to innovate and create yourself and to move around. And if once you express that, and the second part of that is the journey of an expatriate, which is a separate topic, but which we talked on.
I feel like we all lived as expats at some point.
Yeah.
You did, I did as well. I grew up as an expat. You did. How do you feel? Now that you have kids as well. I bet there's a lot of people thinking about this right now. All these mega projects in Saudi, big consultancies, contractors are moving to Saudi. Saudi contractors are hiring a lot of people like crazy right now. What would you tell a family who's considering to move to the Middle East right now? Go for it. Don't go for it.
That's a great question. Honestly, that's a great question.
And I'll jump in after you because I grew up as an expat, but
you grew up as an expat in a very different Saudi.
I was like your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to hear all about that.
So first I'll tell you about my family, then I'll answer the Saudi question.
Yeah.
Right. So I have two girls who've been raised in the Middle East.
Yeah.
They've been to I think 17 countries.
Holy wow!
Right? 17 countries.
Wow!
Right. When I was their age, as teenagers, I'd been to one place only.
Yeah.
One or two places. Right.
Yeah.
And so the life of an expat means that you're interacting with people from all over the place. You have this amazing ability to understand cultures and to be nuanced in a way that I don't think they understand it now, but in the future, they're going to go, you know what? I had a friend in Korea. I'm going there. I'm going to go say hi to my best buddy.
Amazing.
She's Korean, and I got a friend in Africa. I'm going to Kenya. Just going to go say hi to them.
Amazing.
It is amazing, right? I was in London.
Open your eyes.
I was in London a few days ago. I had this guy I worked with on the Dubai Metro, head of security. He's now retired. He's 71 years old. He traveled 2.5 hours in one direction to have a beer with me.
Wow.
In one direction. So he traveled 5 hours to spend 45 minutes with me to have a pint and a burger with me.
Yeah.
Great.
Right? And that's the kind of deep friendships you can build as an expatriate. And that's something, you think, I'm moving away from my family, I'm moving away from the familiar, but the rewards of
I'm getting
doing
goosebumps just like you talking about that and thinking of the relationships that you build, like
Yeah, that's
building
right.
these mega projects.
Absolutely. And you're in the trenches with people doing the hard work. And we have fantastic friends in Dubai.
Yeah.
Obviously, the world is trade-offs. You trade one thing off and you gain other things. But and I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying, it's not a future I had ever considered
Yeah.
as a young professional.
Yeah.
I happened upon it in an airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got very lucky. And I've reflected on that
chances.
moment. What is luck, right? It's kind of preparation meeting opportunity. I met opportunity at the airport, but had it been 10 years later or earlier, I wouldn't have been there. So that was the luck.
Yeah.
So moving to Saudi, right? So
or any, Middle East.
well, I'll talk about Saudi because that's been my most recent touch point, right?
Love it.
So the company Parsons has a deep kind of internship program,
Yeah.
right, with Saudi, which is phenomenal because what you see is the company in Saudi ingests graduates or people in university, has them in the ranks, trains them. And I've recently been to Saudi when these guys have graduated and some of them joined the ranks of the company.
Wow.
And what you see are very young people, super enthusiastic about joining a fantastic company.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds cliche, but being there and feeling that energy, smiling faces, young men, young ladies, seeing the future, and believing that they're going to be part of the transformation of something much greater and much better is really exciting.
Yeah.
It's really super. And so when I was there, they see a guy like me now, I'm close to 50, I got a white beard, and they go, "Oh, let's have a picture with
You
this
look
guy."
like Leonidas from 300.
Yeah. I'm working on the six pack.
Fine.
I'm working on it.
It's not doing too bad.
It's below the one pack. And these guys these young people are super excited, and that is exciting for me. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm very happy that there's a transformation that's occurring.
Yeah.
Parsons is part of the journey, but it's not just the company; it's also bringing people along with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. That's a really important story for the country. I think the company's doing the right thing, and it's part of the fabric of the corporation to do that. And the result is that we're partners with for these giga projects. We're on the Riyadh Metro, which is a massive project.
Yeah.
We built Yanbu, the city. We're working on other major projects, other giga projects in the region. And it's so exciting. It's really, really is.
Yeah. It's people don't realize a lot of the time that how special construction is as an industry. Construction is special in any context, right? Whether it's a building in a city, but in the Middle East, and what pulls me to the Middle East is that you get to build entire cities. There's pictures you see online, Dubai 1950, Dubai today, and it's like night and day kind of thing. It's like you're building out a new New York City, and you have an opportunity to be a part of that, and for generations to come. I'm just thinking of the Dubai Metro.
Yeah.
That didn't exist, and now you were just telling us it's overcrowded in some areas.
They've met capacity, and it's, I won't say a victim of its own success. It's very successful if you measure success in terms of ridership and accessibility, and it was something that many people didn't believe in. I mean, they had never seen a metro.
Yeah,
they go, "Why would I leave my car to be on a train?" And now we have. Why would I do that? But now there's I think the ridership figures have surpassed 600, 700,000 people a day.
Wow.
And that's a big number that you've just taken away from.
There didn't used to be 700,000 people. Dubai was like exactly. 250,000 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty spectacular.
You remind me of a story. I was in, I went to the Construction Technology Forum in Dubai, and a speaker came up there and he tried to make a point about how people don't take public transportation or something, sustainability. And then he says, "Please raise your hands if you've taken the metro to come to the conference." And like more than 70% of the people raised their hands.
Wow.
And he was like, okay, I can't make this point anymore.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was done.
That's funny.
It's amazing how successul the Dubai Metro was. Plus, the new line.
The new line,
for
absolutely.
the expo. And how you must feel a sense of pride, when your kids maybe take the Metro and you're like, Daddy had a part in this, right? It's crazy.
Well, I got to give credit to the people of Dubai, the leadership in Dubai. It's that vision and that drive that make it happen in very short periods of time. And the vision is to make public transportation accessible for everybody, have multiple mobility options, and so to make it a much more diverse place in terms of mobility.
Yeah,
and that really is at the forefront of the Middle East development.
Yeah,
and other places are seeing that, going, okay, let's improve what we're doing. Let's give people more options to move around. And in terms of my children on the Metro, when the expo happened, I said to them, listen, this is the first time you guys are going to move into the world by yourselves as teenagers. And I have full confidence to put you on a train to go anywhere in Dubai in full safety.
Yeah.
And you know what? That is a luxury that most people don't recognize. I'm putting my
most people don't have
15-year-old and 17-year-old daughter on a train, and I know that they're going to be safe because the system itself is very well managed. The authority places a very high priority on passenger safety at all times, at all levels, both inside the station and externally. So that's not a small thing to be able to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, you want to talk to us a little bit about the tech angle into construction? It was today. Petros gave us a little bit of an intro into his life in the Middle East, and he spoke to the team here, and it was super interesting. And there was a slide from I think 2014 that said to BIM or not to BIM. And I'm really curious about that. I didn't ask you at the time because I wanted to ask in the podcast. Can you tell us about the tech angle in construction? Is it important to implement technology, or can you just do it in Excel? Do we need all this technology? Is it bringing back results, or is it just a nice to have? Let's say.
Yeah.
Honestly, please be as honest as you can.
I will be, absolutely. I mean, I think that that funny photo I had, to BIM or not to BIM, was we were at a point in time in the project where our customer said, we want the project fully in BIM, and recognizing that the supply chain wasn't mature enough for that, we said to them, look, we're moving as a company, we're moving very cautiously forward. Let's adopt the technology, but let's ensure that it doesn't risk what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And so, the initiative to push the envelope from the customer, obviously from our side, is met with excitement, but with some reservation.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And so at the time we were, and you saw the photograph because there's some stoic people going, scratching their heads. Are we going to do this? Can we do this?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Right. Let's hire people who are, let's have people who can really deliver this.
Yeah.
But that being said, the project director of the project had enough wisdom to say, I don't have 100% faith in this just yet.
Yeah.
I know it'll come, it'll catch up.
Yeah.
So don't delay the project. Get going, get moving, get casting, start the works and let this catch up.
Yeah.
And that's not the way you do BIM. I recognize that.
Yeah.
So there's a wisdom behind,
Yeah.
I think, mature industry professionals that say, okay, let's not risk what we want to do by trying to implement something, but let's also do that thing in parallel until it catches up.
And again, this was 2014.
This was the decision was made around 2015.
How has that changed now in 2021?
Well, now
just 6 years, 7 years later.
Well, now it's the standard, right? And it was our customer there hadn't adopted it. Now it's a standard. It's growing.
Yeah.
Dubai's effort to be paperless and this is part of that journey, right? So we were
There's like a government incentive.
absolutely. Dubai municipality, for example, no longer has any paper. You want to send them a letter, you've got to do it, a formal letter. It's not.
Oh, really?
Paper.
Wow.
It's absolutely.
There is a lot of talk about the metaverse as well. You can see lots of large developers talking about it the whole time in the media. The movement is towards that direction for sure.
That's right. And so, the customers are and this is the unique thing in the Middle East and in the UAE. And I have worked in other places. I mean, I talk about the UAE because obviously I live there.
Yeah.
But I have worked in other places, in Qatar and other places. I mean, there is a very forward thinking mentality about how do we do things, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's a trick to that, right? There's a catch to everything. There's a lever. I pull one thing called innovation. On the other side, I've got risk.
Yeah.
Right, and that is the thing.
And you're on the forefront, especially you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You test things.
That's right.
Are you ever afraid to promote a new technology?
There's this kind of beginner's luck to a lot of things, and there's this. I'm very inquisitive, but and I think we need to have this mindset, and people need to say, okay, I don't have all the boxes checked, but there's that. So what I try to do is, and I should say, when I say what the company is empowered me to do is to investigate ideas, investigate emerging technologies, build partnerships in incubators and startups, similar to what you guys are. I mean, you guys are a small group, and say, okay, who can bring value to us, and what's the risk involved with that? What's the risk profile? And the last thing anybody wants is more risk on their job. And when people, and these are very intense, there's a New York minute, but there's also like a Dubai minute. Now there's going to be a Saudi minute. And those things are very, very fast.
Yeah.
And the last thing anybody wants is risk.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you assess that though, Petro? When you come across a startup, let's say, or a technology solution for a project, what are some of the red flags, that might put you off?
I don't think about red flags. I think about a value. We think about the value. Is there a value for the company? Is there a value for the project team? Does it address a specific need? I mean, is there something in this startup or this technology which is maybe not related to us, but we can still pass to the customer because we become a conduit to the customer for emerging technologies? And I think there's value in that, right? I don't have to personally gain something to say, look, I've tried something. There's some value here. It doesn't work for the kind of consultancy work that we do, but you might benefit from it directly as the customer, right? And so we become these agnostic agnostic evaluators of technology.
That's really important,
right?
And the industry needs that. Really, really cool. So, Pedro, I have to say, I really want to ask you about the way that you work because I think it's really important. I find the way you work really inspiring. What do I mean by that? I've been in many meetings with you, and especially in the beginning, when we started, we were a very different company, and we were really nervous every time we spoke to you. And in every meeting, you broke the ice by making a joke, by telling them that, I'm Greek, they're Greek, something like that. And I was always like, oh my gosh, like, is this professional? Like, what do I say? But then, it looked like, there was joking around and stuff. But then you always, pulled up some sort of presentation. You kept super professional. What do you think led you to that? Is it the Parsons way of working? Is it your thing? Is it a combination? I just find it, if you ask me, how should every professional work? That should be the way. Bring fun into every conversation, but keep it professional no matter what. Keep it professional always.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a project manager in the past. He said to me, if you had smiled or laughed in the day, you've done something wrong. Right? So
wise words.
Yeah, it's true, and it stuck with me. And the truth of the matter is, I like to laugh. I like to smile. I like to make other people happy. Things get intense.
Yeah.
And they get very intense. Can get very intense very quickly. And the antidote to that is humor. The intensity doesn't go away. We work very, very hard. You know, we work and it becomes a mantra: hard work all the time. You work hard, but you got to have fun, and you got to make people happy around you. Yeah. Because if you're miserable, what's the point? I mean, your family's going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. It's no fun. That's no fun. So, and I had a nice compliment from some of the local guys I work, in the authority in Dubai, and they said to me, Petros, you had the best team. I take great pride in that. And I had the best team because I had people who were smiling, very, very professional, very competent, very committed to the success of their individual task and the overall vision, but also with me, smiling, making jokes, having fun. So those two things are not mutually exclusive. Yeah. And I think that's really important for a happy environment. I think that's more and more young people are demanding a fun workplace. Yeah. Where they can go home and feel happy. That positive reinforcement is good. There has to be pressure. We've had on.
I wanted to ask about that. How important do you think hard work is? What kind of a role do you think hard work plays in all this? Should we forget about hard work? Should we just just have fun, or is it like have fun, but also
the hard work is there. The hard work is there.
You can't escape.
The pressure is there. You can't. A person transforms himself in every way: physical, mental, professional, personal, through hard work.
Keep honing that brain.
That's it. It's hard work. It's hard work, and as long as somebody accepts that, who was it? Bruce Lee says, "I don't hope to have an easy life. I hope to have the strength to have to deal with a hard one." Yeah. Right? Yeah. And it's it's a bit corny to bring up Bruce Lee in a podcast, but that kind of hard work mentality is the thing that builds places. And I also recognize that, there are people out there, the people who are doing the actual work, the labor, and you guys will have seen this in my photographic record. Yeah. The people who are doing the hard work are doing the hard work, like really hard work, in very different circumstances. So I always try to focus on, even in my photography, even my storytelling, I try to take photograph of the people doing the work, recognizing that, I was the son of an immigrant, working very hard.
You're first generation American?
First generation, yeah. Wow. Yeah. So Second World War, my grandfather fought. Greek Civil War, my grandfather fought. Korean War was about to happen. He was going to move into the Korean War. They were going to draft him. And he said, you know what? I'm done fighting. And he moved to North America. Wow. And so my father went as a very young kid, 11 years old.
And you're from Sparta, so you did quite a few wars.
10 years of 10 years of fighting. So you recognize, that was us in a past generation, labor, working hard, right? We carry that kind of hard work,
mentality.
Yeah, mentality. And, my wife and I joke about it. We call it the immigrant syndrome, right? You have this, you don't know if work will be there tomorrow, so you work hard today, right? So you can make yourself valuable. And I've said to my colleagues in the States, a guy from Texas, I said, I wonder what will happen if I won't have work. And he said to me, Petros, don't worry. You've never had idle hands.
Yeah.
You'll always have work. And the truth of the matter is that
multitasker.
The company recognizes hard work and gives you opportunity, but you have to be open to receive, and you have to make yourself visible. And I think that's another important part a lot of people miss, is that in a company of 15,000 people, you have opportunity. You have to present yourself as well. Yeah. In a good light, because people need to, not in a brash or boisterous way, but present yourself and make yourself known. Dress the part. Yeah. I think, dress well, stand up straight, put in the hard work, and people will recognize that.
Hey, I feel that every generation thinks that they work harder, that they're better than the newer generation. Yeah. What's your experience with that? Do you see that? Do you think it's just like a fad? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's funny. I think about this a lot, because before the internet, right, there were closing hours. Yeah. Right? My dad closed his shop at 7:00 and he came home and had dinner. Yeah. And now I think there's I think we've gone through this transition period. Most of my career, I think, has been within this transition period where there were no boundaries to work, right? Yeah. You're working all the time. There really aren't any off hours. And I think the world's coming around to that. I think the professions are coming around to that, and the younger generation is going to hold on. I'd like the flexibility. I'll do the work, but I want it to be. I want I want it to be a bit more flexible.
Yeah.
And I think industry is starting to respond to that. Certain kinds of industry, technology. Now,
Well, those you can. I mean, you can't
do that on labor site.
you can't pour a concrete slab from home.
Yeah, you can't exactly. Exactly right. You
Maybe the inspection you'll be able to do it from home in a few years.
Maybe one day. Maybe AI is going to be able to do it for you.
wait a
You can
second,
focus
hold
on
on.
more important things.
That brings up a very good point. We're using technology now to do those things, right? Remote inspections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's a really exciting time. When COVID hit and we were all locked down, we were still tasked to show up on site, as was the labor. The project couldn't stop, right? And so all of a sudden, I realized I had a tool in my bag which I hadn't used to its potential, this 360 camera. And so I started taking 360 footage, both in video and photographs, and to tell the customer, hey, this is what's happened this week. Hey, by the way, we did this inspection, and I have a video of it. If you're happy with what you see in the video,
And you can see all around you.
and you can see all
above
around you,
beneath
right?
you.
So when you have somebody say, well, it's from this angle, maybe it was presented this way. No, there's no angle to it.
Yeah.
Because it's a 360 image, right?
Yeah.
This, and that presents a really exciting opportunity where technology is now accelerating the way we can do some things. And one of the hardest things that our customers have, when I say customer, our immediate customer, which there's multiple authorities. There's
Right.
obviously a multitude of stakeholders in a mega project.
In your case, really important stakeholders.
Yes.
It's not just like,
Yes.
the owner of a small house. It's
No.
like the ruler or the visionary of a state.
Yes.
The whole country depends on you.
Well,
To deliver.
Like not me personally, but it's
Well,
part
yeah.
of the economy.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
can't afford to hang.
Yeah.
But to have somebody, to have a stakeholder, to give them the confidence to say, listen, I understand how busy you are.
Yeah.
Come to the site one time with me, understand how it is, and the next time we'll do it all virtually. It'll all be 360. Everything that you've mentioned that you want corrected, you'll be able to verify online,
Yeah.
right? And so that was a big moment, because then once you've reached that confidence gate, then you can start to do more and more things remotely.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, look, this is what's happening now. Let me, and anything you want to change here, any comments you have, if it's civil defense or an individual developer or even another contractor, you can say, okay, we can coordinate this in the comfort of our office or wherever we are.
Yeah.
We don't have to physically be there. So you've saved a lot of time by technology, and that to me is really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super exciting.
you save time from engineers, you improve the customer's experience. I mean, and you protect yourself against all the things you need to protect yourself against in a
Absolutely.
construction project.
Yeah,
I mean, many people might not realize, but there's an entire shadow industry taking place in construction, which is that of claims.
yeah,
The legal side of construction.
the dark side.
The dark side of construction, really, that a lot of companies might be even depending on
Yeah,
to make a tiny little profit there, and that's okay because things happen, but it shouldn't be the standard, in my opinion.
yeah, that's right.
That really bothers me about construction, that some companies depend on that side of construction to make money instead of being the best,
Yes.
being the most innovative, being the most forward thinking. Instead, it's more of along the lines of, what did they not include in the contract that I can go and claim back later?
Yeah, where are the gray spaces? Let me.
Where are the gaps?
That thing drives me
Let me
nuts.
try to make a meal of this. Exactly. And so back to this idea of storytelling, right? This idea of imagery and storytelling. That's okay for certain things if you're trying to tell a story. But when you talk about construction progress and construction technology,
Yeah.
an example I just gave about 360 imagery,
Yeah.
I moved into this space, a 360 imagery, because I was a kind of a camera nerd. Then I realized, wait a second, if there was a platform out there that could help me bring it all together, that would be amazing. And that's how I met you guys, isn't it?
And then Sector comes along.
And we met each other through a mutual connection.
Michalis reached out to you, right? You reached out to Petros.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happened there?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It was, and I said to you guys, don't listen, I don't have time.
Classic. Hey, we hear a lot of that.
I bet. I don't have time. Believe me, I'm a super important guy in my own head. Believe me, just let me try your platform. Let me build the confidence in the organization.
Yeah.
Let me prove the value. Let me de-risk it. And once I've de-risked it, then I can say with full confidence to my project managers, my project directors, guys who are under a lot of pressure, I have the perfect tool for you.
Yeah.
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 And so you got, it was a mutual trust relationship, right? You believed in my story.
But I have to say, we spent quite a bit of time building that relationship. I mean,
it feels like a fortnight. It doesn't feel like a lot of time, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's funny how
but if you go back and look at the relationship, how much work took place before you had the confidence in us to deploy something.
Right.
I think
you're talking about the actual deployment. I'm talking about the pilot when we actually piloted together.
Oh, that was, I mean, I have to say, fastest pilot of my life.
Yeah.
Petros was like, okay, I want it. Like, let's go. I'm like, is this guy for real? He's like, yeah, let's go. I want you to set up a trial for me. I'm like, Petros,
we're talking about
boom, signed. Set it up for me. I have a 360 camera. Let's go. And you were on the site, and my team was trying to. Our customer success lead, Maria, was onboarding you.
Yeah.
You were live on site. That has never happened to us ever. We were in the office thinking, this guy is like something else.
That's moving fast.
He's crazy. It's something else. He's never gonna. And then you do it. You take field notes. You share it. It was unbelievable. Is that like? Do you get pressured to do that, or is that you?
No,
what is
I think
your
there's
passion.
Yeah, there's a passion element involved. There's an imperative from the company. I do take risks. But I'm very careful about those risks. And in the case that we had, the risks were very limited.
Yeah,
I had to move fast to prove it. We had been talking about it, and I didn't have any time. So you're right. I had the camera because I'm a camera nerd. I had the camera, and I was like, just give me the platform. Trust me, it'll be great. And then that became part of the story, by the way.
Hey, if you have a startup idea about the DJI, what is it called? The Osmo?
Yeah, the Osmo Pocket.
The Osmo Pocket. Petros has one of those too. So.
it's in my bag.
Hey, but come to Sector. We'll do the evaluation, then we go to him together.
But honestly, I will say this. Look, you might have been impressed. At the speed I moved and the intensity.
It was crazy. Petros,
it was very fast.
Like that.
But I was also impressed by the way you guys reacted, and I talk about this. I'll tell people, what does white glove treatment look like with your technology deployment? Are you able to, as soon as you sign the contract, you get a customer success manager within 5 minutes, and says tomorrow morning we're going to onboard you. That doesn't happen that often, and that's super important, right? And in this case, I'm the customer, right? You guys are trying to sell me something. I'm in dire need. I'm in dire straits. I need to do something very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was a big activity that we did.
Well, with you, it was like in the next 5 minutes, you're like, hey, signed, I'm in the car.
Yeah.
yeah. Strapping the 360 camera on the car, going.
Hey, do you think I can capture while I'm on my car?
Can I put it on a drone? He was asking for a drone, no?
He was asking, hey, can I connect the camera to the drone? It's unbelievable.
Well, I got to the site and I was like, okay, Maria, where do I start? I was literally there. I had no idea how to start this platform. And then the story was this. I go, hey guys, look what I did today. In 6 hours, I went to the site, having never experienced this product, this platform, this group, and look what I've done in 6 hours.
Yeah.
And that's a great story, man. That's a great story to make it easy, accessible, easy to use, and produce something that someone can touch and feel. It's not abstract.
Yeah, and that's honestly, that's thanks to the speed of open space and the great work they've done to bring your captures back on time. we've been working with OpenSpace for 2.5 years now, and people associate us with OpenSpace, and that's great. We're very proud of that. But people don't realize what we went through before we decided to partner with OpenSpace, and I guess before they decided to partner with us too, because that's there's two sides to that coin. But I'll speak from our side because I don't know their side. I'm just assuming here, but what I'll say is best of the best. And that's what we like to do with our partners. Yeah, that's what we did with OpenSpace. That's what we did with Evercan. That's what we did with Procore, Fieldwire, and the companies that we work with. And that's how we build our reputation, by looking for the best tools. And the fact that you're saying that now, I did all this thing and customer success was great, but then also the technology delivered.
That's right. It's a combination of things, right? You can have
500 construction tech startups right now.
I believe it.
Maybe there's more.
I believe it.
Probably more. Probably more. It was 500 2 years ago. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's insane. How is a customer expected to figure out what kind of technology to use?
Yeah, and exactly where to use it, right? What's the right timing? How is it integrated? What value does it bring? The customer doesn't have time for that.
Yeah.
A customer, they are interested, but they don't have the time. All they care about is deliver my project. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You promised me you're going to deliver. Why is it not done yet? Right? And so those hard conversations happen. Our project managers are at the forefront of that, and they're kind of partners in delivery, and they cannot afford to stumble by messing around with technology. And that's the hardest part, right? In implementing, you need a couple of things. You need a great technology. That's a given. You need a great partner. That's not a given, right? You need someone who's going to give you that white glove treatment. You need the creativity of the team involved to say, you know what, I get it. Let's do this and let's integrate it here. Let's prove it there. All those things matter, and you need a champion at the end of that to say, I'm gonna make sure this is successful. I'm gonna take it on. So there's, at least 4 vital ingredients to those.
You need a couple of champions.
Yeah.
You need a couple of champions to do that. Just thinking of our deployment, right? Project management champion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People like Francis.
Unbelievable guy. Unbelievable. Francis,
big guy, strong.
Big giant Irishman. You don't want to mess with him. You look at the guy.
Freaked the hell out of me when I saw
him. Oh, you saw him?
To say hi, Francis.
Francis will crush you. Francis will crush you. He's a tough guy, but you know what? He took a risk, and he took a risk, and he plunged into something he was not 100% sure about. And we have to think this way, right?
Do you know what I love about Francis? I think one of the great capabilities of great leaders is to be able to pick the right person in the team to do the job. And he picked the right guy. He picked Mohammed Razi, and Mohammed's doing such a great job. Hi, Mohammed, as well. Not a plug for you, man, but I have to say, you're one of my favorite construction tech champions, doing such a great job on the site.
Absolutely.
And it's a testament to the great leadership of many great individuals, and every single person that you've brought us in touch with has had this wealth of experience in working on these mega projects it's such a niche. It's not easy to deliver these monsters.
It's not easy. These are very intense projects with very intense customers who have very deliberate goals. You have to, and the company commits to delivering, and it only happens because of guys like Francis. We have excellent management. Those guys really. Mario's amazing. Gosh. Mario's fantastic in our aviation sector.
Yeah.
Francis in Saudi Arabia. We have so many great guys, and I'll be honest with you guys. These guys are intimidating. You sit in a room with these guys. These guys are powerhouses.
Yeah.
We have amazing people. I'm not kidding, guys. I'm not just saying that. We have amazing people. You sit in a room and this guy's been in the region forever. He's done so many great projects. He's worked in Hong Kong. He's worked in London. He's worked here. And you're at the top of the food chain when you're dealing with guys in our company, and it's extraordinary. Sometimes I just sit and go, I'm in class now. I'm listening.
And there's a bit of a pull and push approach, right? Sometimes, you discover new tech and you identify a project and you go to them and you're like, hey, you might want to use this tech for your project. And then there's also, hey, Petro, I know you're Mr. Innovation guy, Mr. like great storyteller. I need some tech to impress my client here. How does that relationship work? Am I on the right level here, or is that,
Yeah, I've become the go-to guy for certain things. People know that I'm a fanatic about drones. People know I'm a fanatic about construction supervision, those sorts of things. So they do come to me. And I had Mario send to me. He said, Petros, this was during lockdown. He said, Petros, I need to fly a drone over Sharjah airport.
Wow.
And I was like, Mario, and I need to do it in 14 days time. I said, forget it. It'll never happen. We'll never get a drone above an international airport, but let's use another technology. What do you actually want to do?
Yeah.
Well, I want to capture the space and be able to package it up in a tender package so the contractor can understand what's there, what's the work. I said, let's use another technology, and so, the whole conversation with me isn't, what's the tool I have available. It's what's the right tool for what you're trying to do. Tell me what you're trying to do. We'll try to find a technology, or we'll try to patch technology together that brings the value that is used for your customer. Not the glossy stuff. I think this is the temptation with a lot of technology. A lot of it's glossy. Will people pay for it is the answer, is the question, right?
Yeah.
Will people pay for it? It has to bring value.
It has to solve a problem.
It has to bring value.
And you have to reverse engineer from the use case. It's basically what you're saying. What is it gonna be used for? And then you reverse engineer and go to the technology.
So a lot of what I do actually as an innovation lead in Parsons Middle East is listening to people. Okay, and there's a few dimensions of that. One is you have guys doing some really interesting stuff. Okay, let's understand what he's done in Qatar, and let's make sure the guys in Saudi who are doing something very similar. Let's make sure we communicate that capability over, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of an internal coordination activity. Then there's the activity of like, what's on the horizon? What are these startups looking at? What's mature enough that we can adopt? And does it actually make sense? So there's like a technology matching component.
Yeah.
And then another part of that is, what do we want to develop? What is iterative? What are we doing right that we can improve? All right. And what are the solutions that we can build around that? And so it's a very healthy conversation in the Middle East. I connect with my counterparts in North America, super bright people, incredibly bright people with a massive depth of knowledge that they bring to the table. Very forward thinking, and I can't
have to give it to the Americans. They're not just forward thinking. They actually go out and do things. They try things. I
love tinkerers, man. Tinkerers. I work with some guys.
That's a great way to put it.
Tinkerers, guys in their garage doing stuff, and I've got friends like this, and I'm just like, I want to do that. I want to be that. I tinker with other things, but I see guys building things. I'm like, I want to do that. That's what, if I'm jealous of anything, is skill.
So what's your favorite, what's a technology that you know of that you think not enough people know of, that you want to plug away, mention, whoever you want to mention here, because people are going to want to listen to this. You're on the forefront of everything, every mega project.
I am very excited about technologies which can be transformative and
impacting.
And there are certain technologies that promise so much in such a meaningful way, and I want to be a part. I want to make them happen somehow.
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out yet, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we all know what happened last year and what's happening every year with a greater rate of frequency, which are these massive forest fires.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what's the answer to massive forest fires? Well, there's forest management, and there's better control measures, and then there's better reactions. And so that's all reactionary stuff.
Yeah.
But, I've been looking at a platform called Dendra.
Yeah.
It's a reseeding company using drone technology out of the UK. And there's another
So they plug seeds using drones.
So no, they do much more than that. So, that's a very simple way to think about what they do. What they actually do is what they call ecosystem, mass reforestation. Wow. We've heard of mass deforestation.
Wow.
They do mass reforestation. And Adam Philby from Dendra, you're going to kill me for butchering, what
your
you
pitch.
do, your pitch. But I'm a huge believer in this technology, because what they're doing is they're using drones and artificial intelligence, machine learning to map out an ecosystem and understand at the leaf level what's growing there,
Wow.
how much carbon is stored in a certain area, and then saying, okay, well, the patch of land next to it, which just was fried in a forest fire, that's very similar to that patch of land. Let's help you build a reforestation platform. And the drone capability and the reseeding capability, which is very impressive, 800 kilos of seed in a single flight.
800 kilos.
800 kilos, right? So they have these.
That's like a ton.
It's an incredible amount that they can. It's not something you can go to the supermarket and go, bring me 100 kilos of seed. I want to see. Bring me. No, you can't.
No way.
You need to. So it's a whole system that you have to put in place to make sure you can do that.
Yeah.
With these guys, so this is the environmentalist in me goes, right. Technology can actually really help solve things. Let's figure out where we can use it. Let's figure out how it makes sense from a business case. And in my mind, it checks all the boxes all the way across.
I'm even thinking like these mega projects are going to need like mega landscaping.
Oh, it's not just that, but I mean, how do you record what's there? How do you ensure you preserve what's there?
Yeah.
With very, very high fidelity.
Yeah.
And sorry.
It's all good.
So, this is a company I've been looking at, trying to figure out a way to work. And I am optimistic that the time and the space will arise. Yeah. You got it? Where there's an opportunity to do this. And I haven't figured it out yet. I haven't talked to lots of our customers in Saudi about that. Again, this is one of these things where Parsons has given me the latitude to explore these technologies.
Yeah, I love that.
We have no
affiliation.
We have nothing to gain by saying, hey, Mr. Customer, you want to do something? Well, I know we vetted this technology. We know the company. We know their integrity. We know their quality. We know all these things about them because we've tested it and we have confidence to bring it to you.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when you refer somebody, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to refer somebody who's no good because then if they're no good,
especially if you're a 15,000 person company.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything depends.
It depends on the quality, right?
Warren Buffett said you only need 5 seconds to ruin your reputation. So, Pedro, I'd love to ask you. You've been in the industry for many years. Not only been in the industry, you're from the industry. Studying architecture. You worked in one of the most transformed nations on earth. Your eyes have seen things that people will never see in a lifetime in a span of 10, 15 years. If you could predict the future, how would you like to see construction in 10 years from now? What would you like to see happen? What would you like to see take place?
Well, I think, as I haven't contemplated this, so I'm going to give this a little bit of thought. It's a hard one to.
We should have told you the question before.
I should have informed me in advance. No, the truth of the matter is,
instinct.
The construction industry is hard work.
Yeah.
And I think what's continually improving is, and I can say this with direct knowledge from Parsons, right, is our safety culture. Safety has improved tremendously, and we kind of lead the industry in our safety culture.
Yeah.
So how do I, that's kind of, we know this is improving, and it has to improve. We need to continually keep our focus on safety of people, and that's a prime directive, from our mothership, from Parsons Corporate, right? But I think that we're going to see things in the future that are going to, in the near future, that is revolutionizing the way things are done. And I'll give you an example, right?
Yeah.
So I was just in the UK. I'm going to say I went to this place called Basingstoke. Never been there. Never heard of it before.
Never heard of it.
I've been working with this startup called Hypertunnel. Now think about a group that has said, you know what? Traditional tunneling, tunnel boring machine, let's get rid of that. Let's not do that anymore because you've got a single point of failure. You've got people in a tunnel. You've got environmental systems to make sure they stay alive and make sure nothing collapses. And right, so there's a lot of risk involved with tunneling, but let's use robots to do that instead. So so I can see a future where that technology, which we're trying to pilot in robots creating tunneling.
Create tunnels.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's 3D printing, tunneling underground, and autonomously excavating the spoil in the middle. I think that is going to be transformative for places like Dubai, who have a vision to have everyone within public transportation.
You got to go underground.
I think underground is
safer cities, smarter cities.
That's one element.
Cities.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think, I'm optimistic. We have to be optimistic, right? We have to be optimistic that technology is going to make things safer and better for people. I gave you the drone and reseeding example.
So you're talking about non-custom made TBMs here, or what exactly is this for those who don't know?
So imagine, a tunnel boring machine is a specific, you order it and you go, yes, I want a
massive
very
machine.
heavy machine that's 9.5 meters, tall and wide, and it's going to bore through the earth, right? And I'm not a tunneling expert, so I'm going to mangle this.
And it has to bore through this type of ground.
Exactly. So imagine being able to send into the earth robots which give you feedback about what that space looks like. The geology of the space, being able to build a three-dimensional map of the geology, and then determine what's the right kind of injection grout that I'm going to put into it.
Wow.
Right? Without having to bore with a tunnel boring machine. And so what's your point of failure? Okay, so if one of these little robots something goes wrong with it, you've got another one. It's not a single point failure like a tunnel boring machine. So this is really hypertunnel. And so right now I'm very excited. I'm trying to get this. We're trying to pilot it in the Middle East, and we'll see who goes for it first. It could be Saudi. It could be the UAE. We have, having visited the site myself this past week, I've seen this startup. It's about 50 people. They've been in business for about 3 years. Wow. In order to do this idea, swarm robotics for tunneling, they're having to invent other technologies to develop this idea, to deliver this idea.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Such as combining ground penetrating radar technology with creating point clouds from these robots that have been injected into the ground, converging all that data to create one massive point cloud that tells you what the subterranean environment looks like, and then purposely building specific injection types to make sure that form can be created. Now think about
that's like more. It's kind of like Moore's law taking effect in construction,
like in real time.
In real time,
yeah, in real time.
Like the technology is advancing at a pace of like 2x every 2 years.
Yeah.
On a continuous basis, maybe even faster at this point, with cameras moving on site and radar technology improving. And
so you're talking about, just think about this: 3D printing underground, digital twin in the subterranean space, right? Having all that geology and information at your fingertips. It's very impressive stuff. Very impressive.
Who do you think, Petro? Who do you think plays in the transformation of the industry, digitalization of the industry? Who do you think plays a bigger role? The owner, the consultant, or the contractor?
Look, I think the imperative is it's a funny question. It's kind of a chicken and egg question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because forward-thinking contractors probably have the most to gain from advanced technology.
What would you do to incentivize a contractor to be forward-thinking as a consultant?
Well, if a contractor was really interested in making a lot of money, they'd be doing experimenting in forward-focused technology, right? Does that make any sense?
Well, I love that. I think that that's the message we could close on. Honestly, if a contractor, let me just repeat that for a minute. If a contractor wants to make a lot of money, they are going to be forward thinking. Petro, it's this industry has been plagued by the lack of forward thinkingness, I think. And it's the ultimately what it comes down to. It's the hard work of a lot of people that do the actual production, day in and day out. And they are the ones to pay the price.
Yeah.
And there's a price to pay in construction because it's complex and complicated, and the rewards are great for the price that you pay. But I don't think we've done a really good job at being innovative, promoting innovation. And I'd go as far as saying thinking in the right way.
Well, I think before we close, I think the really important thing is we're at the precipice of a massive change.
I feel that too.
And I think that's right now, the UAE has pushed that forward, but I think now the scale of the work that's coming on board in Saudi, it's not just a wish, it's a kind of a demand.
Yeah.
right? Because none of it is, I mean, I shouldn't say none of it, it's achievable, but it can only happen through forward thinking.
Yeah.
It can't happen in traditional methods.
You can't go build this mega project without implementing technologies left, right, and center. Michale, I'd love your input here, because you were out of the industry. You worked at Google, you worked in tech. You must have felt some form of this before you joined, right? Yeah. You must have seen an industry with a gap. For those who haven't kept up to speed, Michalis he's a civil engineer. He worked at Google as a strategist, as a salesperson, as a marketing person. So he must have seen some sort of market gap before you took a decision like this to do.
When we met and Angelos showed me how the industry was working with paper on site, and how the collaboration was happening, he spoke about the opportunity for transformation, digitalization, and so on. I couldn't believe that was true. I was like, are you sure this is not just in Cyprus? Is that everywhere? Do people really go with paper on site? They do timesheets on paper. Like, it was pretty extraordinary. This was 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was also a sign that the opportunity is here. We just have to find the right people, get together, find the right plan, and help them digitize. So that's the exciting part.
Be there with them.
Yeah. There must be a reason, though. There's many reasons for it.
Absolutely. What a great time to have you here. What a great conversation. We definitely went over time, but we have to. I feel we could have gone on for like 4 hours.
Probably
talking about construction, about the industry, about the Middle East, about all that's happening. Thanks so much for coming here. It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that are going to want to hear this podcast.
I want to thank you guys for the opportunity, and I've got to be honest, I'm quite nervous about having a chat like this, but I got to shout out to all the great leadership. I have Martin Boson in Saudi Arabia, Max Clark, Andy P. There's a lot of great people in the organization. Andy. You know Andy, right? There's so many great people I work with, and that positive energy just keeps things pushing. Hard questions, hard people, but hard in the sense that tough acting, tough questions, but they drive great movement in the company and for the customer, right? It's always customer focused. So thanks for having me. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So great to have you here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.